And now, a math lesson. Let's say the Zaxby's chicken finger plate comes with 4, 5, or 6 hand-breaded fingers and 1 side of Zax sauce. Plus, you can try them with Zax sauce, honey mustard, hot honey mustard, tongue torch, teriyaki, wimpy, nuclear, barbecue ranch, sweet and spicy, insane. How many possible combinations does that make? Carry the 2 with the remainder... a lot. Zaxby's chicken finger plate. The sauceabilities are endless.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good all major roads through Tallahassee lead you to a Zaxby's, Appalachia, Monroe, Mahan, Highway 90, however you like to call it, Capitol Circle Southwest, Thomasville Road, as well as locations in Thomasville, Georgia, Marianna, Florida, and hey, let's go back to Georgia, Douglas, Georgia, as well. We got some swag and gear to give away. Only 3 people won this time around, Corey, on the over-unders because we only had about 5, I think, props. So 3 folks went 4 out of 5, and then a whole bunch of people went 3 out of 5, and it's just too many people. I want to break hearts and have to pick favorites. And I think you and I are also even after this latest round of over-unders. Crazy how that all works. But how you doing, Corey? You're joining us on the road?
I am driving back from beautiful Raleigh. What a wonderful trip that was to see that. And should be in Tallahassee. I don't know, in a few hours.
Okay.
In a few hours. I can't wait. Can't wait to be back in the Sunshine State.
Some of you folks listen to podcasts on your road trip. Corey Clark performs them during his road trips, though.
Absolutely right.
You'll be here. Florida State takes on Clemson Saturday. 32.5-point underdog, I think, is the line currently. What are your thoughts on that, Corey?
I was trying to think of a number where if I was a betting man, I would take Florida State, like what the number would have to be. And it's into the 40s.
Yeah.
32.5 seems like just like the NC State line. I'm like, what is Vegas about giving money away? Only because Dabo they just lost. They're trying to get back into the playoff hunt, which I think they'll be fine because they should play Notre Dame again in the championship game. But he wants to make a statement. It's Trevor Lawrence's first game back. They always love putting a hurting on Florida State. I just can't see anybody taking Florida State plus 32. Especially when you don't know the quarterback situation.
Right. All right, well, let's dive into it then. Corey, as he said, heading back from
By the
Raleigh.
way, it's very sad. Trust me, I understand that, folks. It's very sad that the team you cheer for is a 32-point underdog. That's insane. That's 1976 craziness. Like that was the last time they were an underdog by that number. It has to be. 32 is a huge number. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. Corey, heading back from Raleigh down here for that game. So I kind of want to maybe try to break this up into 2 different kind of segments or overarching themes for the show today. Let's get maybe into the bigger picture stuff later, but I guess if we can try to get as micro as possible for what this season is. And I know we talk about junking it. It's a throwaway season. It's glorified scrimmages, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess that notwithstanding, let's just kind of look at this game, 38-22. I don't even know if the final score really is. It's one of those cliche. Is it really indicative of how the game kind of played out? I know you wrote a pretty well even-handed, well-rational column just kind of on, hey, things are bad, but let's maybe try to just kind of pull away a couple shining lights or, bright spots from the 38-22 loss to NC State, your 3rd straight loss on the season where you now sit 2-6. I do agree there are some kind of good things to take away, but I also don't want to get too lost in it, Corey, because everything good that happened was when this game was well out of hand, and I'm sure NC State was sort of coasting and just wanted to get out of this game without getting injured. So do we qualify any bright spots with the fact that NC State was kind of mailing it in, coasting towards the end of the game, or do we not allow that to affect the prism through which we judge these slight redeeming factors in Saturday's loss?
I mean, I just feel like that's a take on your personality, right? Depending on what you want to do. If you don't want to, and I'm not saying that's the right or wrong thing, but if you don't want to give any credit to what happened, and I'm not saying you, it's the royal you. If you don't want to give any credit because it happened in the 4th quarter, that's fine. But you know what? For Chubba Purdy, that might have been a big deal that 4th quarter. whether NC State was trying its hardest or not. Now, they did call a timeout right before that Warren Thompson touchdown because the coach was angry with how they were playing, and Chubba just kept ripping off 17-yard runs. So it did matter to them there at the end, I think, the defense anyway. But, I can see that. Like, the game was out of reach when he made some plays. You could say they're empty yards and they're empty points, but for Warren Thompson and Chubba Purdy, they're not, because they've never had really any points. So they're not empty, even in a blowout. I think that matters. I think you saw something, more than anything, you saw some things from Chubba in the fourth quarter where you're like, okay, I can see how that could play once he gets some more experience. You know what I mean? Like the first 2.5, 3 quarters, I didn't see much from him at all, really. But that fourth quarter, I think you saw enough, physically anyway, you saw enough to be like, okay, that can play at this level. I can see where he might be something in a year or two. So maybe that's what you take away. And maybe somehow that catch by Warren Thompson gives him some confidence, and he can actually go make plays in spots that matter.
Okay. Let's dive into it then, Corey. For as good as that fourth quarter looked, the redeeming factors, I think you're able to see Chubba. Chubba is not sudden. Chubba does not the 4.4 speed, I think we can all agree, is urban legend. Not his fault. Maybe somebody's just trying to make him feel a little bit better about himself someday, but I don't think.
But he's not slow.
No, not at all. No.
He probably runs a 4.4 in like a 38-yard dash.
Yeah.
It's still fast enough. It still plays.
Yeah.
But he's as you can see in that game, I think he can run, but he's not a runner.
Right. Which I'm fine with.
Jordan Travis is a runner. Jordan Travis is a game breaker with his legs.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But Chubba's athletic. It's not like we were sold a bill of goods and he can't run.
Yeah.
He can move.
Yeah. Would like to see him maybe do a little more holding on to the ball on read option stuff instead of handing it off pretty much every single time because that's obviously an important part of what made Jordan Travis successful, was keeping the ball and keeping these defenses honest. But for as good as he looked in the fourth quarter, that first half was, and I tweeted something about it, just about how kind of demoralizing it was. That first half was so poorly played, executed, managed, that it felt, I think maybe some of the way that we do judge a second half is that, at least for me, is that I can't imagine how many Florida State fans rightfully tuned out after the first half, not wanting to deal with that. And I was just thinking about, imagine if you've practiced all week long, you're coming off 2 straight losses, you know what your season now holds for you. You're not on a good team, and you've got to go back out there and do this for 30 more minutes, like physically and emotionally, get the crap kicked out of you, and then get on a plane and then practice Sunday. And I thought it was going to get really, really ugly in the second half, just like humiliating on a different level bad. And it didn't. But the first half, I think, I don't know, it still lingers. I do think Chubba did some real good stuff. I think we saw some of the encouraging signs of what he can do when you have maybe some guys. You know, they're in prevent, so that was kind of my little bit of worry about that, Corey, is that I think if they get a game-breaking guy, at least somebody who can stretch the field vertically, somebody who's got some pretty elite top-end speed out wide to make these defenses have to play a little bit deeper, have to play somebody center field, because that's how Chubba will get, I think, his yards. Will be when coverages sink back so far that he sees 8 yards open in front of him to the sticks, and he goes and he'll get 12 yards. He's not going to do all sorts of crazy Jordan Travis-esque stuff. But I just wonder, will we see more of second half Chubba or first half Chubba? First half Florida State.
I thought, he talked about the fact that they let him loose a little bit in the second half, which may or may not be true. It's not like he was throwing lasers all over the field. But he did rip a few throws. He did make some throws that I thought were, the one that Pokey caught but out of bounds, maybe a 30-yarder down the sideline. I thought that was a nice throw.
Yeah.
It might have been his most impressive throw of the whole night. It was just a little bit out of bounds. Maybe a better receiver puts his foot down. But I think we also got to judge. If anybody listened to this show last week, and I assume many of you did, I'm not all about making excuses for any of this. I was angry last week, maybe more than I've ever been, just at the realization that not only does this team lose, it doesn't compete, it gets blown out. It's part of their DNA. It just happens. And, so I don't excuse what happened Saturday night in Raleigh, but look, man, they started 4 freshmen in the offensive line. Jordan Travis, Tamarian Terry, and LaDamian Webb essentially didn't play. those are your three playmakers, your only three playmakers. So my part of me was like, well, why didn't they just let Chubba throw the ball? Like, let him really rip it and see what he's got. And it's like, oh yeah, their receivers aren't any good. Like, he has no playmakers with him. Yeah. Deshaun Corbin's a decent college running back. He's not sensational. So it was a lot to ask with those linemen up front and no really talented wide receiver to speak of. And your best running back is on the sideline. You know, at the end of the game, they had Wyatt Rector in the slot. They had a 4 wide receiver set where one of them was Cam McDonald, the other one was Wyatt Rector. They had 5 scholarship receivers available. And I don't know if Portier was even available because he didn't, or Williamson. They didn't even see the field. They ran, they played 3 scholarship wide receivers in that game. Man, they were up against it. So that's why I think you judge this game a little differently than the Pitt game and the Louisville game. Well, the Pitt game, because that Pitt game, the defense was horrible in the first half, even though the offense was pretty good. And then, the offense, the second half, they didn't have Jordan Travis and they just went into a shell. But I thought this one, I wasn't expecting much when you have that lineup. You know what I mean? It would have been astonishing if they would have scored, 17 or 20 points in the first half. I mean, you weren't expecting that, were you?
No, and I think that's kind of the weird balance I'm trying to find here to kind of strike the right tone is that, yeah, man, when I saw that line 10.5, I mean, I think I did like 2 different parlays where that was one of the props I threw in the parlay. I'm like, I hammered. I'm like, give them all the points they want, man. 10.5, that's it. I was expecting Florida State to pretty much get undressed on national television. And in that first half, it looks like they were well on their way. Although it was only, 21-3 at half? Like
only is a weird.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It was so ugly. It was so bad that 21-3. I don't think really illustrated just how futile of an enterprise that offense was. And now the defense, did their part to make Bailey Hockman. Bailey Hockman should just opt out, get ready for the draft. Right. He's got his tape. He's kind of.
Speaking of that, though, obviously the slot, covering the slot, or in Florida State's case, not covering the slot was a big deal. Hockman did make some nice plays. And I thought, again, that was a little bit different than I thought some of the games we've seen this year, Louisville most especially, is NC State did have to earn it a little bit at least. Like, you did make the quarterback have to escape some pressure. You did affect him a little bit. Now, you didn't tackle him because why would you do that? But you did get him off his spot, and he made some really nice plays. He's not that good. You made him look a lot better than he is. But I did think Hockman, it wasn't like the Pitt guy just having all day to throw and just, he's open. Or Louisville, you just don't cover anyone ever. Like that one, you had a huge mismatch in the middle of the field. What they did there trying to cover the slot was obviously not smart. Didn't work. But, I didn't think NC State it wasn't just ABC 1, 2, 3. We're going to call the same 3 or 4 plays. We're going to go right down the field and score. Like, they had to earn it. They had to convert a lot of third downs. I thought Florida State's defensive front got a push. I thought there was a little bit to take away from the defensive effort. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I do think the defense did about as good as you could hope for at this point with what we've seen. It certainly wasn't their fault. Jarvis Brownlee had that. I still haven't even seen it because I was getting my office set up to do the post-game press conferences, and I didn't actually even get to see the interception. I haven't even been on Twitter to look at it. But they created a turnover on defense. The over-under that the Williams Sportsbook set for us was 6.5 tackles for loss. They got 6. Football Focus had them at 14 total pressures. 12 of them are hurries, only 1 sack, 1 hit. This defense, again, they're limited at the back end, especially right now. Renardo Green's not playing. Brendan Gant, 45 snaps, was your lowest graded defensive player. Amari Gaynor was your second lowest graded defensive player. Hamza, making his return, was 20th out of 22 players in terms of overall grade. Travis Jay is in your bottom 5. So that secondary is quite limited. Adam Fuller almost had a reaction that kind of said it all, I think, in the first drive, and there was like a third and 7, and they converted, and just you could see his just disgust with it or whatever. But I think that's the thing. It's just I wasn't expecting Florida State to look all that good, so I really wasn't all that disappointed or surprised. But it's still like when you do witness it, it hurts, man. It's just like they're so far away from where they want to be, And I don't know how you exactly get there by what you're doing right now. I know everyone's like, well, get better, let the young guys play. But, man, just because you're out there playing doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be positive growth. I mean, you would think so because you're a true freshman. You haven't played before. But, man, I mean, it could be just sloppy habits going to get reinforced, being, outmatched and whatnot playing out there. But I guess I do kind of maybe want to focus maybe on the positives of Chubba's play. Portier, by the way, did play one snap, Corey. He played one.
Oh, okay. How'd he do? How'd he grade out?
He graded out 7th overall. It was at 58.3. Yeah.
What an impact.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he's trying. But yeah, I'll give Chubb a little bit of benefit of the doubt because that was kind of the question I asked him, and it did seem like it. I know for sure, like his first 9 dropbacks, because I tweeted about it. I mean, he's dropped back 9 times. He literally has not looked anywhere else besides his first. Like he just is. I mean, not even so much like locked in on the guy. Just acting like there's no other viable option than the number one target on the pass route. But then in the second half, you sort of see him progressing a little more, or at least looking at more than just, between the boundary and the numbers. Like he was maybe going from like hash to the numbers. So there's a little bit more for him to kind of see. And he made some decent throws. And he was able to find a guy wide open down the middle of the field. Maybe not make the best throw, but you see maybe what you have there at the quarterback position. And I think the fact that this team came back out, and we, Gator Kirk, and sorry to keep rambling. I'm going to let you talk here in a minute, I promise, Corey. Gator Kirk asked us on Thursday, what does progress look like to you? And then he says, I think scoring a touchdown in the second half. Well, they did that twice. They had every reason to, and I know this is such a low bar, and we'll get into the whole bigger picture of Florida State football right now, and I know it's a low bar to set, but, man, after the way they looked in the first half, I was fully expecting them to come out in the second half and just get absolutely torched. And they actually played better. Now, we thought they went over a hump against Notre Dame and carried that into North Carolina, but that didn't translate to Louisville and Pitt. So Clemson's is definitely not the next sort of challenge you want to see. But they did respond in a fashion that shows you that they are still believing in what this staff is trying to accomplish. And Jarvis Brownlee said as much.
Yeah, and I hate to correct you, but they actually scored 3 touchdowns.
Okay. All right, no, don't correct me, man.
They tripled their output against FBS teams in one game. So yeah, I do think that's what you build on is you had freshmen making plays. Warren Thompson, a sophomore, made a play. Corbin is what is he, a redshirt sophomore? Yeah. Webb. I mean, I know he didn't play much because he'd been sick all week, but he made a couple nice plays. And he's a sophomore, and he'll be a sophomore again next year. The line is all coming back that played that game, which, some of it's not great, but some of them might have a chance to be good. I think that's where your hope is that you take your lumps. I'm not going to I'm going to compare it, and I'm laughing before I make the comparison, so get off my back, people. But the class that saved Coach K at Duke, they played a lot as a freshman. This was back in the early 80s. We're talking about Johnny Dawkins, Jay Billis. They made a 30 for 30 about it. They were terrible for 2 years. So much so they lost an ACC championship game or an ACC tournament game to Virginia 90-50. Duke did. And Krzyzewski thought he was going to lose his job. But that's the class. They played a lot as a freshman, and they took their lumps to some great basketball teams and got embarrassed. But they got better. Now, I don't know if there's a Johnny Dawkins in this class or a Mark Allery or whoever those other guys were. But you can get better as a freshman, and you can learn from getting your butt kicked. And this team, you hope that's the case with this team because that's all that happens. That's all they know, really, is getting their butt kicked. But, I think that's where you hope. That's where your hope is. Jarvis Brownlee's a freshman. Travis Jay, God love him, catch the ball, dude, on a punt. He's a freshman.
Just try to block it. Don't even put anybody back there. There's no point. Nobody wants to catch it. Nobody can catch it. Then they fumble it. Just try to block the punt. Don't even have anybody back there. Let it roll.
What was weird is they did almost block it. And I'm like, oh, he almost got that. Yeah. And then they almost got a couple of them. And then, Travis Jay I'm not sure what happened there, but it was odd. But yeah.
And that affected things, man. That game could have gotten interesting. If he doesn't flub that.
28-9, and you're getting the ball at midfield.
Yeah.
And if you score there, which I think they did score on their next drive after that, if you score there to make it 28-16, all of a sudden maybe Bailey Hawkman puckers up a little bit. But you didn't get, good teams or bad teams do what bad teams do, and you fumble right there when you can't fumble. But overall, they're the youngest team in the country, and they look it. To your point, if they can turn these into positives in a year or two, we won't know now, but if they can turn it into a positive, then you feel good about things. You feel good about the direction you're going. But that's all you can hope. That's all you can put your hope in, right? It's not like you're seeing a lot of things on the field each week. It's like, yep, that's definitely getting better. That's definitely getting better. I thought the defensive line's been pretty good 2 weeks in a row against the rush. But other than that, nothing on defense makes you excited. And then again, the offense, man, it's so hard to judge it's just, Jordan Travis is a big, big deal. And not having him, he's your playmaker. It would be like, it's the similar impact of this not nearly as good offense. Florida's offense, if they lost Trask, would still be probably okay, but would it be going at the level it's going with Trask? There's no chance. Now, that's comparing an apple to just use a bad analogy there. But the point being, Florida State's offense can't afford to not have its best playmaker on the field and still hum along. But I thought, not that they were humming, but I thought that Chubba seemed to grow up a little bit in that second half. It did seem to slow down a little bit for him. And they've got to somehow incorporate him keeping the ball in the zone read for positive yards. And then we'll see what the offense looks like with that, because that wasn't even an option. It didn't seem like in that game, did it?
Late fall, college ball, the NBA bubble, UFC Fight Island. It is clear 2020 has been a year unlike any other, which is why you need a sports book with offers unlike any other. Get some skin in the game with MyBookie, where odds boosts, lightning deals, and free bets await all season long. And with Thanksgiving right around the corner, there really is no better time to feast on some NFL action. Whether you're a first-time customer or have been playing with MyBookie for years, there is no shortage of value to be found in the thousands of game lines, unique prop bets, and contests that they offer every week. Sign up or get reloaded today. Find an edge, make your bet, get paid. They also boast a fully fledged casino platform giving you access to all the classic table, slot, and card games you'd expect to find at your local spot. Best part is, at MyBookie, the doors never close, so you can continue to build your bankroll even after the stadium lights have gone out. Make the right play. Sign up today at MyBookie, and when you do, use promo code WARCHANT, that's promo code WARCHANT, to get your deposit matched halfway all the way up to $1,000. The terms are simple. You put in $200, they'll match you with another $100 in your account. If you were already planning to bet this season, this is free betting money. It's winning season at MyBookie, so come join in on the fun and win some cash while you're at it. No, and that was the thing, is that I really hope that this whole read option thing becomes more sort of repped to, hold on to it at the mesh point, like stop handing the ball off, because I think a lot of what they were able to be successful at versus Louisville and North Carolina, and to a certain degree against Notre Dame, was not so much even the actual runs where Jordan would keep it, but just that threat, man. We talked about it for 2 years. DeAndre Francois, off of the injury, did not want to keep the ball. James Blackman, not built to run the ball that way. So when you're going to when you're running a play, that part of its allure, part of what makes it successful to set things up in the future is that it's the threat of something happening. When you remove half the threat, then what do you have? I mean, you have a predictable play call. And that's the kind of stuff that you hope that they'll sort of kind of grow and figure out a way to drill that stuff home, or maybe you're a little bit more confident after playing a full game. Because, Chubba got the crap kicked out of him. Like, Chubba got beat up bad. And he popped up pretty much every single time. There wasn't any limping. There wasn't any slow, pity me walks back to the huddle. So just maybe that for his own, mental kind of hurdle to cross after hurting his collarbone so early into his college career. Maybe that can help pay dividends. And then you bring Jordan Travis back. And I guess that's my next question to you then, Corey, is how do you now manage these guys? I really think, I don't want to be rude, but I just think you have to, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish with Tate Rodemaker at this point. If Jordan Travis is cleared, I think is he your starting quarterback, or do you make Chubba your starting quarterback and then you put Jordan in a few designed kind of drives, third drive of the quarter he goes in. I don't know, for some reason it should be Jordan's job, but I feel like Chubba probably, I don't know, I think Chubba would play like at a 6 if you made him come in relief. Maybe plays at like an 8 if he starts. And with Jordan, like I'm trying to play like a numeric scale on these guys. I think it works best for both those guys. I can't see Chubba coming in relief and being successful the way that I think Jordan could. So like, how would you manage that moving forward?
Yeah, if for 2020, if Jordan Travis is healthy or close to healthy, he's my starting quarterback and he gets every snap.
Okay.
It's just, look, man, again, we can go back to Chubba looked pretty good in the second half, but in the first, it's not so much what he can't do, it's what he doesn't know, apparently, because that offense, throw it to this guy 4 yards from the line of scrimmage, hope that he makes a guy miss, which he never does, and that goes for all of you guys. And then, you get 4 yards. Now it's 2nd and 6. Now run, you get 3rd and 3. Jordan Travis is your home run threat. You don't have any other ones. It's weird that your home run threat is your quarterback, but that's who it is. And if he's healthy, he's your guy. I didn't see anything from Chubba that would say, yes, he's definitely a better option than Jordan Travis. But what I did see was that you might have something in Chubba. And we all know the history with Jordan Travis. Even if you go into next year with those two guys as your quarterbacks, we expect Jordan would be the starter, at least I do. But I certainly expect that Chubba would be playing a heck of a lot because it's just hard for Jordan Travis to stay healthy. I just think it will be. But also, I was going to say, I think there's a good chance that's a game in the fourth quarter if Jordan Travis is playing quarterback on Saturday night. I honestly do. I think the defense, the offense.
If he's healthy. Like a healthy,
that's
the thing. It's not only is Jordan Travis playing, but a healthy Jordan Travis or close to healthy Jordan Travis.
Yeah, so if you have a healthy Jordan Travis, and I know that's an if, and if you have a healthy LaDamian Webb, like you did against North Carolina, that's not a bad offense. And I think that's what you ride with for the time being until you can restock the roster with either linemen that are road graders and great pass blockers or receivers that can go make plays. I think the future of this, future anyway, is the read option with a dynamic quarterback and a couple of decent, only because he's not the runner. And, I wasn't wowed by his arm. Again, though, it's his first game and he doesn't have a lot of great targets. But there's nothing that wowed you by his arm. There were no throws that he made in that game where you're like, yeah, Jordan can't make that throw. Or Jordan doesn't see that. I think Jordan sees the same thing with Pokey that Chubba saw, which, by the way, credit to Chubba for seeing it. We've seen quarterbacks around here that would have been scrambled for their life right there and not had the presence of mind to look downfield. Yeah. He kept his eyes downfield with the rush. That was impressive. The throw, not so much, but just seeing it was the battle in that instance. So, I know it's a long answer. I just think that if Jordan Travis is healthy, he's your guy. I really worry about this game, though, man. What do you do? Like, let's say Jordan Travis is 75% healthy. Who do you start against Clemson and why? Like, do you start a not healthy Jordan Travis in a game that you have no chance of winning? Or do you start a true freshman quarterback when you're trying to build his confidence? Can James Blackman come back for one game and just take the lumps? That could be his sign-off to Florida State fans. Is like, I'm going to come back and wear this for you guys. You don't deserve it because you booed me, but I'm going to wear it for you guys so Jordan can get healthy for the last 2 games of the year and we don't ruin Chubba's confidence. Because there is nothing good, I don't think, that comes from really either one of those scenarios. So I'm really interested in what they do this week against Clemson.
Well, this goes sort of to the point that, the interesting thing I thought from Mike Norvell's post-game comments was I think on 3 different occasions he just kind of this is not a criticism of him. He kind of just drifted off into this kind of like war cry about, we came here to win the game. Like we prepare to compete and to win the football game. And I think there's, you always kind of like to joke about the crazy sort of way he uses timeouts and what are you doing? Just get out of these ball games, get out of the half. And he's out there like it's, like it's Madden 2006, and he just, he's got 3 timeouts, and he's going to use all of them and get the ball back before the half and score because you can do that in a video game. But I think if he's going to try to keep drilling this mindset of we're here to win. This is going to be a tough road. This is the toughest thing you've ever done, but we're going to compete to win. Then yeah, man. If Jordan Travis is cleared, he starts and you use him probably judiciously. But yeah, I mean, you don't play Jordan Travis just to have him throw the ball. He's not going to go out there and they're going to call RPOs and he just passes every single time. They're not going to call read option plays and then have him just hand the ball off every time. I think you put him out there. If he's cleared, he wants to play, you feel good about it. Because, yeah, I mean, then what? You're just going to put Chubb out there and just try to keep dropping him back and then, break him down, which I don't know, man. I think he just seems pretty resilient to me, although this Clemson thing is going to be on a whole nother level. But no, man, you have no shot of winning this game, which I know sounds absurd to then follow it up with saying you still have to coach, I think, and be consistent in what your message has been and push these guys and coach like you're trying to win it. So you play him. Absolutely.
Here's the thing about COVID. You don't have to actually – nobody knows. You could just tell 15 of your players that they have COVID. They're not – where are they going to get a second opinion? Because what you can't do, you can't not have a COVID outbreak on your team but then claim that you do. Because that's not a good message to send to your players, that we don't want to play Clemson. We're scared. We can't do this. But what you could do is tell 15 players that they have COVID. They have to quarantine for a week anyway, which is good for their safety anyway. Quarantine them, keep them away from people, which is what they should be doing anyway, and say, sorry, man. Sorry, Clemson. We don't have enough bodies. With the contact tracing and the outbreak that we've had, we can't play. And we're not going to play you this year. Sorry. What are they going to do? With HIPAA, you can't see their personal medical records anyway. So it's win-win, baby. That's my only suggestion for this week, for this game. It is going to be ugly. There's nothing positive that I can see coming from it unless you score on their third teamers in the third and fourth quarters. Trevor Lawrence is going to, there's just nothing good that comes from it. But on a serious note, what I did want to say about Chubba, and I like your word resilient. I was struck by his mannerisms, and Norvell talked about it too. He is the cool thing about that kid to me, more impressive than anything that he did on the field, was just his composure and his poise and the way he talked about the game so matter-of-factly afterwards. This isn't a kid that's happy to be there. He's not a kid that was just looking for excuses because it was his first start. Hey, I did okay. I was up against it. I tried my best. This is a kid that expects a lot out of himself. And at least that's what I gather from him. And he is not overwhelmed by the moment. He is not just happy to be starting a game. He expects to be good. He expects to be really good. And that, to me, right now, to have a kid with that kind of confidence, whether it's earned or not, and right now it hasn't been, but doesn't that bode well for the future? No matter what happens with Jordan Travis, I've been impressed with Chubba just with his poise, not with his, nothing with his arm. His legs are okay. Nothing great physically. But to me, the most important thing for a teenage quarterback being thrown into these games with no discernible skill really out there at wideout for him is to look the part and to be confident and to be poised and to be composed and to be resilient. And he's shown all that. I do think that's a positive sign, even though he hasn't maybe wowed us with his actual play.
Yeah, man. I think it's part of his family. I think it's part of it, just kind of his pedigree, his upbringing, DNA, whatever cliche you want to throw out there. I mean, his dad was, I think was a pretty, I don't know. His dad was in the minor leagues for a while. I don't know if he ever got to the show, but his dad was a pitcher that was drafted and went through a minor league farm system. We obviously see what his brother's doing in Ames, Iowa for Iowa State, and just kind of what a revelation he's been for that team and that program. So I do think he's obviously cut from that same sort of cloth. And, yeah, man, it just to see him to get better throughout that game, to trust it a little bit more. And yeah, his arm did not look anywhere near better than Jordan Travis's, but I think there was more zip on it. You saw him throw.
Yeah.
The more confident he got, when he things started
Right.
kind of making more sense, he started seeing things better. You started seeing him deliver with a little more, forthright attitude, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, he showed you again. I think you mentioned just what he could possibly be. It was a good first kind of step for a kid as a true freshman in a pretty tough little environment. But, man, golly, just any other game on this schedule, almost any other team other than the one in Tuscaloosa, I would not have any reservations about playing. But, man, just the second game to beat Clemson with Brent Venables doing God knows what, mixing up coverages and bringing in pressure is just I guess I'm starting to worry about what you do for him. But I don't know. I mean, could you answer your own question? Like, what do you do? Would you play Jordan if Jordan's like, listen, man, I'm 75%. He clears concussion protocol or whatever he was undergoing, and they clear him, and he's like, yeah, man, I can play. I'm not where I was before North Carolina, but I feel good. I mean, do you put him out there or? I mean, I don't know, because then what does that say to, like, Chubba? I mean, I don't know so much of it's like, what does it say to Chubba that, like, he's a sacrificial lamb? But then how do you kind of look at your team in the face when they know that he can play and you've been pushing them all this time that we're going to compete to win? We line up, we get on this plane, we do all this stuff to go out and play and win games, and then you maybe don't put all your bullets, in the chamber.
Yeah, no, if Jordan says he can play, if he's cleared to play, he needs to play. And not because you're going to win this game, but again, I right now, I think you have a 2-quarterback system heading into the future. I think Jordan Travis is your guy when he's healthy, but again, that's going to be up in the air a lot over the next year or two. I think so. Now you know that you have a pretty viable backup option, and he's a true freshman, and he will be a freshman again next year. So he gets some time. And man, it's been so. But I definitely go with Jordan Travis if he can play. He's got like 3 starts under his belt, so he needs reps too. And again, I think you can't just poo-poo or dismiss a talent like Jordan Travis. He might not end up being an incredible quarterback, but he is an incredible playmaker, and you need to find a way to get him reps somewhere, somehow, some way. And I think he has a chance to be a pretty darn good college quarterback. So he needs reps too. So if he's healthy, he needs as many as he can get with these offensive linemen, with these running backs, with these receivers for what they are. They all need to get reps, and they need to get reps against elite talent. What you have now, though, I think, with Chubba, is you have a viable backup plan. And you have a guy that, moving forward, in the rest of this year, into next year, you have a guy that can get it done at this level. Maybe not elite, but he's not going to embarrass you. And it's been such a bizarre year, right? Like with Penn State and Michigan, just look around the country. It's just a bizarre, goofy year. And then, so it was hard to plan for this anyway. And then on top of that, who are your 2 quarterbacks, Aslan? Who are the 2 quarterbacks that are at the top of the depth chart right now?
What, at Florida State?
Yes.
True freshman with Jordan Travis being hurt, or Jordan Travis and Chubba Purdy?
Jordan Travis and Chubba Purdy. How much work did they get in August?
Right. Yeah,
None.
Yeah, 3/4. He missed 3/4 of the preseason camp. Jordan Travis and Chubba probably
missed
same
all
amount.
of it. Yeah. So these are their scrimmage reps. These are their practice reps. You were really behind the 8 ball anyway because of the roster limitations and who you did have at quarterback. But I think the season might have played out a little differently, not a ton because of what happens on the other side of the ball. But if these 2 kids have been healthy for the whole preseason practice, who knows what this season would look like. I think it would look different. I'm not saying they'd have a winning record. I think they beat Georgia Tech. That's probably the only one you can say for sure they beat. But then Chubba would have been more ready for this week. And they wouldn't have had to handcuff him. So this is like just a mulligan year, really, for this to judge this offense, because they didn't have Tamari and Terry. They had 4 freshmen starting on the offensive line, and they haven't had a quarterback healthy really all season. And I still think you see some things, right? We're like, okay, I can see how this is going to play. I can see how these guys know what they're doing on offense. But, the quarterback dilemma, if it is one, I think what makes you feel better about it, though, and it is going to be a quarterback controversy, I think, for at least the next year or two. If there's going to be Team I can't wait. Team Jordan and Team Chubba. I've missed those days. I guess we had it last year with Team Hornswoggle and Team Blackman, but, there are going to be camps, like who should start and who shouldn't start. But I think what you're going to have is two guys that can actually play, which is a far cry from what you've had in years past. And so that's when you're looking for encouraging signs, I think what you saw Saturday night from Chubba was encouraging enough to think he has a chance to be a good college quarterback. And that's all you can hope for in this season anyway, with a true freshman, is at least give you a glimpse and give you a bright spot if you squint really hard that there's a chance this kid can play. And Jordan Travis can do some things that are elite. And you build from there, I guess.
I don't know. I don't envy Mike Norvell or Kenny Dillingham having to try to work a 2-quarterback system, especially with these two guys' sort of skill sets. Like I don't think like Chubba Purdy to me, I don't know, just what he does, I don't think is bringing him in for one series or two series in the middle of a quarter. Like I think he's more, quintessential quarterback. Like he needs to get into the feel of a game, get into the rhythm and the groove of a game. But then you feel bad taking away that opportunity for Jordan Travis because he's shown you when he's healthy that, yeah, man, he's not going to be, he doesn't have a plus arm. He's not going to do anything crazy in the pocket throwing the ball. But, man, like he can scramble and he's got that frustrating knack that if you're as a Florida State fan watching him play, like it makes no sense to me. I'm like, to me, he doesn't look all that explosive. He doesn't look all that elusive. But somehow he's running by everybody and he's shaking tacklers. I can't describe what I'm seeing and how it's actually working out. And I'm sure like North Carolina fans are probably like, shaking their fists at the sky. Like, who is this guy? Just the way that Florida State fans saw the way like Lamar Jackson or whatever, that kid from Houston in the Peach Bowl, like that kind of annoying stuff that we were having to deal with. Jordan Travis was like paying that medicine back to everybody. I think with him, I'm not suggesting a 2-quarterback system. I'm suggesting Jordan Travis is your starter. Yeah. But there is a good chance you are going to need a backup and a good one. Yeah. And Chubba Purdy is that guy. And then the more reps he gets, maybe he turns into an elite quarterback. But I like the future at that position. And I can't say I did when the season started because we didn't know what they have. Now we kind of know what they have, I think. I think you got two guys that you can, if you build up the team around them, which is the biggest issue, but if you build up the team around them, I think you got two guys that can win at this level and certainly produce points. I think that is something that they both can play at this level. And I can't say that right now about Tate Rodemaker, and I certainly can't say that about James Blackman. But Jordan Travis and Chubba Purdy, I wholeheartedly believe can play quarterback at this level and played at a pretty high level. All right, so is it worth talking about the defense? Sure. I'd like to see Renardo Green back soon. Yeah. Travis Jay, he's playing hurt, but he's also not helping himself. He's injuring his teammates around him with some just questionable decision making. We're not playing Blountstown anymore, bud. We're not playing, I don't even know another 1A school in the state of Florida. I'm sorry, small school football in Florida. No disrespect.
Taylor County? Is there a Taylor County?
That probably works, but I don't know.
Sounds right. There's probably a Taylor County. Yeah. I don't know that for sure, but I'm going to guess there's a Taylor County, Florida, and they're probably a single A school.
All this, unless I get it, you're not going to go 100% out of the end zone because you're kind of waiting for some of your blocks to get set up and to find the lane you want to go to. But, man, this light jogging that Ja'Kai Douglas did and now Travis Jay is doing, quite frustrating. But let me stay on the defensive side of things here.
Hey, by the way, I agree with you 100%. Get somebody back there that'll run fast to the hole.
Yeah.
It's not a punt return. You hit it, get to your top speed quickly, and go from there.
Yeah. They don't have any sort of – other than Asante – I mean, the secondary is just simply a mess right now. If Renardo Green comes back – maybe that stabilizes some things. Maybe if Mako Dotson ever comes back, maybe he gives you something. Maybe that allows you to put jarring at maybe safety. Maybe he finds some footing there. But the back end obviously continues to struggle. Linebacker, I guess Emmett and Amari were number 1 and 2 in tackles, but Emmett graded out 13th out of 22 players. Amari was second to last in front of only Brendan Gant. And I was joking about it with you before we recorded the show, but I started writing some kind of like notes down during the game, and I think I got to it was funny because in the first and second quarter, there were all these like really detailed kind of notes. And then there was only like one note per quarter in the second half. But I was like, Gainer, bad fit on opening drive in red zone first quarter. Second quarter, misses tackle. Fourth quarter, absolutely mashed. Like he was, I think they had him playing like Fox. Like he was on the defensive line, and he just got absolutely bullied. I mean, just like the back of his jersey, it was like a hockey fight almost. Like grabbed the back of his jersey and just threw him down on the ground and fell on top of him. And I'm like, man, yeah, Amari did not have a great day. But then you saw how many tackles he had, but then he graded out second lowest. So even the guys that we feel might be the best option for this defense are not performing all that great. Sidney Williams graded out third, Jarvis Brownlee second, Kane Doe first, which, I mean, did they even say his name during that game? All that said, though, man, the defense, you know, I guess back to your point earlier in the show, if they had a healthy Jordan Travis, or if maybe this was Chubba Purdy's third game or fourth game starting, they certainly have a chance to beat that NC State team. The defense did good enough, and I know everything has to be qualified relatively speaking, but that's for every program. I mean, I don't know how much better they're getting, but, you know, they played a lot better in the second half and at least, you know, continue to compete. And I don't know, I think they got a little bit better. I'll go on a limb, Corey. They got a little bit better.
Look, they've been better since the Louisville debacle. Now, again, we are grading on a curve. It is still a bad Florida State defense, probably the worst in program history, or at least modern program history, and that's post-Bowden, or, you know, since Bowden took over. It's weird with Amari Gainer, man, because he does make some flash plays, and he is playing a position that he's never played before. They didn't move him there. So he is going to struggle. I did not with 12 tackles, I wouldn't have thought he struggled that much, but he did. I mean, he wasn't good. Emmett Rice, I thought Emmett Rice, again, makes some plays that haven't been being made. I mean, I think he makes some flash plays too. And I think
he also misses tackles for loss that would set up 2nd and 13, but instead becomes 2nd and 9.
Now look,
and 8.
It's good that he's there, right?
Yeah.
It's like a center fielder. Like the first key to a center fielder being good is to get to where the ball is going to land and go. The second part is actually get your glove up and catch it. Like Emmett Rice does pretty darn well sometimes at getting to where he needs to be, reading it, diagnosing it, and then just the tackling can be abysmal sometimes with all these guys. And that's, you know, look, that's around the country, but this team especially seems to suffer from awful tackling.
They've gotten worse at it. Like, how do you get worse at tackling as the season goes on? I thought that's something like everybody gets better at.
Yeah, who knows?
Rhetorical.
Who knows? But you know, the safeties are a real problem. And you know, if you read what'd you say, the 4 of the worst 5 graded out on the team were safeties.
Yeah.
What bothers me is you'll ask Adam Fuller this, but if you don't, I guess I'll log on there and ask later on today. Why, when you're bringing 6, and you know you're bringing 6, it's not like they're blitzing on their own. They're just freelancing. The whole defense knows the coverage that, hey, we're bringing 6. We're getting so he's going to have to get the ball out of his hands quickly because we're going to have a free rusher. They only have 5 to block. We're bringing 6. So he's got to get rid of the ball quickly or it's going to be a sack, or at least he's going to spin out of a sack. Why are you giving 6 yards cushion to the guy in the slot? To the easiest throw, the first read that a quarterback is going to make in that position is going to be hit to his slot guy, especially in the middle of the field. That's right where the blitz, that's right where he's looking. Why would you not be taking that away? That boggles the mind. Now, are they being coached? Is Brendan Gant being coached to give so much cushion that he catches it at the goal line and you're 3 yards off him on a 3rd down blitz? Or is that just him being scared to get abused so he doesn't get up where he's supposed to be? That's what I'm curious to know. Is that how they're being coached? Because if they're being coached that way, that's ridiculous. And I can't believe it. I can't make myself believe that they're being coached to give that much cushion on a hot read, on a blitz when you know you're blitzing. Or did he not know they were blitzing? Whatever the case is, and that's, I guess, my frustration with the defense is, yes, we know they're limited at safety. we know that Nasruddin only played – how many snaps did Nasruddin?
I think 24. Let me double check. Yeah, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we know they're limited there. Travis Jay is a freshman, never played before. It's only started 4 games. Nasruddin's his first game back. Bernardo Green, who showed some life. So he might be a player in the future. But the guys you have now, aren't that skilled or aren't that healthy. But that doesn't mean they have to be poorly coached. And when you give that much cushion on a blitz, basically a max blitz, where you know that he's going to try to hot read, he's probably going to try to throw it to a slot receiver. Why in the world are you that far off him? There's no I don't know. It's like no relationship there between what you're blitzing and what your safeties are doing, what the defense's call is and what your safeties are doing. It should not be that easy to convert when you're getting pressured like that. And what I was going to say is, the play that Hockman made where it looked like he might have been over the line of scrimmage, where he scrambled out of a sack and then started running toward, like, that makes sense to give up a big play there, because you get in a call where, like, okay, he's going to run for it, I got to go get him, and then you let your guy get open. That makes sense. That happens. Quarterbacks make plays sometimes. They're on scholarship too, right? I've heard that. It's those other plays where you just make it so easy that I have a problem with. And there, even though I did applaud the defense's effort at times, that kind of stuff, the third down stuff, is just too easy. It's just too easy. If you're going to blitz 6, don't give them an easy throw right in the middle of the field. And Travis Jay did it on the first drive of the game. Like, that was just a simple pitch and catch that a middle school quarterback could have made, because Travis Jay is playing 5 yards off him or 8 yards off him. And Travis Jay came up and made the tackle, but he was so far off him, he picked up the first down. What's the point? So that's still frustrating. That's so frustrating. I'm trying to be more positive this week, folks. I hope you hear that in my voice. But there's still some things that are quite perplexing and frustrating.
I have such a weird, like, I would hate to have to coach defense. I think coaching defense is just so impossible in today's day and age. Like, I think I maybe give a little more benefit of the doubt, or I'm just less inclined to, like, bury and drag players and coaches on the defensive side, although it has been a very, very, very bad defense, obviously. But, like, the one example I think about, and it was the one where, it was the second to last drive of the first quarter for NC State. It's a drive where they got stopped on 4th and 1 on the 10-yard line. And it was 3rd and 10. It ends up being a completion for 13 yards. And Jarian Jones was in coverage on it. And it was, the guy was lined up pretty much, like, on the numbers out wide. And, like, if you're Jarian Jones, it's 3rd and 10. You're playing about 10 yards off the ball. Like, you're kind of guarding the first down marker. And the guy's running at you full speed, and maybe it's a go route. Maybe it's a 9 route. Maybe he's going straight down the field, and they're going to try to take the top off you. Or maybe he's going to break and do an out route to the sideline to get the first down. And like, I don't know, like, how much of that is the player's instinct and how much of it's coaching and knowing and scouting out the offense. This is what they like to do on 3rd and 10. This is what this guy does when he's going to, come out of his break and cut things short. But, man, the kid just ran a perfect route. As soon as he broke and stopped his route and broke out to the boundary, the ball was on time and delivered, and Jarian Jones broke on the ball, but it was way too late, and it was a 13-yard completion. And Adam Fuller just, like, rolls his eyes and, like, throws his hands up in the air, almost like, what the hell just happened? And, I don't know, like, what, I don't know how else you would want what you want him to do. Like, where you're playing 10 yards off the ball, like, I don't know how else better Jarian Jones could have really done, because he was right there as soon as the guy came out of his route, but the ball was there on time. And I just don't know if they need. I mean, you can't just play press man every single opportunity you get out there. But I'll ask. He might
have been rolling his eyes as if to say, "Now's the time Bailey Hockman's going to throw a ball like that."
Maybe
on time, perfectly to the sideline, right where the guys. I mean, that hasn't been Bailey Hockman in his entire career. But that was look, yeah, you're right. Those are the ones that I don't have the issue with. Like, to me, it's a little too easy. Like, to give up that easy, like, Jones was 2 yards off him when he caught it. Like, that's a little too easy for my taste on 3rd and 10 to just run a simple, basically an out route right past the marker. But those I don't have nearly the problem with as I do the ones where the defense doesn't seem to be in communication with each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Again, why are you not cover the slot guy? That's where he's going. That kid had 16 catches all year. He had 11 in that game. So at some point, that's what they saw as their weakness, and you never adjusted to it. And your safeties were too scared, apparently, to get near them. And then, I don't even know how to explain what. Like, you can coach some stuff. And look, I'm not giving Fuller a pass at all. I've kind of been pretty darn hard on him, and he's earned it for this year. But, like, what do you do on that play that was North Carolina State's last touchdown? Like, what is Brendan Gant doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Fuller coaches him to, like, hey, man, play off him. Now, you see he's going to catch it short of the marker. I want you to run, about 80%, but make sure he doesn't even know you're near him as you go by him. Like, don't even touch him. Like, in flag football, he still scores. Like, Brendan, he didn't even make a move either. He just caught it and turned upfield, and Brendan Gant went flying by and didn't even stick an arm out to try to, like, slow him down or trip him up. It was just really bizarre. And that's a kid obviously playing with no confidence. But how do you coach? What do you do as a coach to coach that out of him? At the same time, it's not acceptable. So coach it out of him.
Yeah.
Or put somebody else on the field. No, I know you don't have a ton of options, but put somebody else on the field. And what is going on with Akeem Dent? Is he dressed out? Is he just not available? Because that's a guy that you would think could cover guys in the slot. Certainly better than Brendan Gant or Amari Gaynor. But he's not even on the field.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll find answers to those questions later on here today on Monday when we speak to Mike Norvell and the coordinators. I don't want to have to do this every Monday, Cor, but I feel like we're going to have to. I probably need to stop reading, the YouTube comments or whatever. But we're, I don't want to. I really don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we're pretty much at an hour right now. But this whole how bad this team looks. The excuses we're making, quote unquote, the bar has moved so low. Why were we not doing this with Willie Taggart? Like it's like more than just one person. It's like 3 or 4 people on YouTube. It's like I don't want to pay it too much attention, but like when you work in television, you get this sort of weird kind of syndrome, you will, if you get one complaint, there's probably like at least 20 more people that agree with that sentiment. Which again is still kind of a pretty small number in the grand scheme of things. Like, are we being unfair? Are we being inconsistent in the criticisms and listen? There's a lot of stuff that like Willie did not have the luxury of. Like Willie did not have the luxury of this team sucking so bad for the better part of 3 years to where your expectations have been lowered to this level. Willie did not have the luxury of this program being so like cash strapped and a pandemic going on that your job security is that much more firm if you're a guy like Mike Norvell right now. So like I think these are I'd hope we can all be adults and like agree on that the fact that this is not looking good. If it continues to look this bad for another 18 months, there will be the same sort of criticism, like legitimate get rid of this guy stuff that was happening after Willie had been here for about the same amount of time. But yeah, that's again, it's this weird line that I feel we have to continually cross or walk or evade or talk about because there continues to be this whole thing of like, hey, you spent $18 million to tell a guy to kick rocks and then spent however much money to bring this whole new staff on, and you are worse. I mean, you're it's not even arguable. I mean, you are worse now than you were last year. So how do we navigate that sort of, I guess, reality or narrative?
I don't know how to even answer these. I don't even know if that's a criticism. I don't remember in 2018 hammering Willie after every loss either. I don't. Maybe I did. I don't go back and listen to my Wake Up Warchants from previous years, although I guess I should. Just, like to watch film to see what I can improve upon. But
I mean, I think I did. I don't want to like. I literally thought after that season ended so bad, I'm like, he is going into year 2 with his job on the line. And everyone's like, no, that's way too premature. I'm like, I don't know. I really think so. But I don't know. There were more things that were wrong with this roster than what Willie had. And I think relative to each other, it's not as putrid. Plus, at least this guy did beat a top 5 team. Now, North Carolina, probably not one of the 5 best teams in the nation. We all get that. But they did win that game, which was, again, is an impressive win. That's a really good offense that didn't even put 30 points on this horrible defense, which is crazy. And you had this quarterback on your roster the whole time. And listen, these guys screwed it up too, man. They started James Blackman and Tate Rodemaker before they went to Jordan Travis, and you can say that that's because of injury or whatever. But, this staff last year had Jordan Travis. They didn't decide to use him until week 12. There's things that are different for sure, and it's not just skin tone.
Yeah,
please stop with that.
Again, I threw a lot of the blame of 2018 at the predecessors, feet, a lot. So for people, I don't know if they're coming at me, but for people to think that I'm being, inconsistent, I'm kind of giving Norvell the same pass I gave Taggart. And frankly, Norvell deserves a bigger pass because he is going through a pandemic and the roster is 2 years worse than it was when Willie took over. Willie still had, Brian Burns. He still had Landon Dickerson. He still had DeAndre Francois. I mean, he still, Tamari Terry, I guess was given to him. Cam Akers, he was pretty good. There were better players on Willie's roster than there are now currently on Mike Norvell's roster. And it's 2 years more of losing, 2 years more of sucking. And it's not just losing, it's losing terribly. And you have to deal with that as a coach. And that's hard to carve out. That's hard to
and with bad habits that you probably instilled in this program.
So, but that said, it doesn't mean that Norvell gets a pass either. And I hope if you listened to me last week, I did not sound like a very rational, logical person. I just wasn't. Now, I think that was built up from 3 years, not just 2 months of Norvell. But I wasn't rational or logical last week either. I was mad. This week, it is what it is. You've lost. You came into the year with your 4 best players were Tamarian Terry, Marvin Wilson, Hampson Nasruddin, and Asante Samuel. Only one of those dudes has played at all worth anything. Your quarterbacks, whoever they are, have been hurt, are terrible. Your offensive line is what it is. This is a bad roster. It does not mean they should get beat by 50 points by Louisville or get blown out by Pittsburgh. That's embarrassing. But they're different circumstances. And yes, if this thing still looks like this in game 21, and I don't even know if I don't think I was calling for Taggart after that Wake Forest game last year or whatever it was before the Miami game. I remember thinking, well, it's a decision they're going to have to make, but I hope you didn't hear me saying, yep, got to get rid of him. He's done. But if it looks like this after game 21, then okay, let's start making those comparisons. But he also, he had a quarterback that hadn't signed. He had a roster that hadn't signed a quarterback in 2 years. Who are the wide receivers that Willie Taggart brought in that Mike Norvell has to work with? Warren Thompson and Keyshawn Helton. That's it. That's all he had available this past game from the Willie Taggart era of wide receivers. You know how many running backs from the Willie Taggart era are on the team? 0. And the 2 quarterbacks are a true freshman and a transfer. So let's not act like these things are equal. And he's having to coach through a pandemic. We can either start and I don't even understand the point of it. What's the point of, at this point, passing blame? The blame goes all around. Jimbo started it. Willie Taggart, in my opinion, poured gasoline on it. And Mike Norvell has not put the fire out. So there's plenty of blame to go around, but it is where it is. And it's up to this guy to turn it around. Right now, they're not close to being even average. So you have to look at little things here and there to see if you can see something to build upon. But you better hope you do, because you're stuck with this guy for a while. After game 21, I might say, yeah, I don't believe in Mike Norvell. He hasn't earned it. I don't think he's doing a good job. I don't foresee him getting this thing turned around. But that's not going to be me saying he needs to be fired, because they can't fire him. So you just hope that he knows what he's doing. I think there's been some signs where he knows what he's doing. He has been given a roster that isn't good, that only knows how to lose and lose badly. Did you see the stat I tweeted out after the game, by the way? I looked it up
so.
because I knew what was coming. So that game on Saturday night was their 17th loss by at least 2 touchdowns since the start of 2017. So since the Alabama game, that was their 17th loss by at least 2 touchdowns. They had lost the exact same amount in the preceding 20 years. So, and that wasn't exactly a great run.
All right, let's real quick. Let's go to the over-unders. Again, we had 3 winners. The winners are they went 4 out of 5. War Chief, FSU.
That felt like by the way, that felt like my Braveheart moment.
That was really good.
Rallying the Florida State fans. Like, look, it doesn't matter how we got here. We're here. Let's focus in on you guys got to start buying recruits illegally.
Right. Yeah.
You guys listening to this show, hey, you see those people that give us money each week? Well, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to finish that thought. But, hey, there's a lot. We all got to do it. We all got to do it together.
So War Chief, FSU 2 times, and Noles Champ 14, the over-under winners. Head to warchant.com tribal council for instructions on how to claim your prize. And again, just a reminder, the over-unders were Cam McDonald catches 3.5. I said over, you said under. You were correct. He did not catch one single pass. Lawrence Toafili, total yards.
Did he have a target?
One, apparently.
Oh, he did? Okay, I don't remember him even getting a ball thrown to him.
Toafili, total yards 41.5. You said over. I said under.
That shouldn't count. That should be off the board.
That's the way it works.
He didn't play because he was hurt or ill.
Well, that's the way it works, man.
All right, I just don't feel like that should even count. All right, go ahead.
Emmett Rice tackles 7.5. We both said under. We were wrong.
Way wrong. Yeah, sorry, Emmett.
What do you have, like 11 or something ridiculous?
E. Ricer, yeah. He's 11. Learning that nickname, the E. Ricer. 11. Some of them were good plays.
Florida State total tackles for loss 6.5. We took the under, which was good because it was 6. Really good number by the Williams Sportsbook. An even better number, the official number from our friends in the desert, 59.5. And we hit 60. So we both said over on that one as well. So actually, I'm +1 on you this week.
For the week, you mean? Okay, yeah. You gained 1 on me. Gotcha.
Yeah. So,
Toafili, man, got to get him involved. I think he's the guy. I know he couldn't play, and Webb was sick. Which again, you're down to 1 healthy running back in that game. Sheffield could get some run too. I would throw that out there.
You put him on scholarship, you can use him.
Yeah, they got no qualms using Wyatt Rector in the slot.
Man.
I think Toafili might be a guy moving forward if he can get on the field. He might be a positive in these last few games.
All right, that is a wrap. Head over to warchant.com. Oh, gosh, I can't believe I took this long to say it. I'll probably have to go into the beginning of the podcast and maybe insert it back in there. If you're still listening, Nike75 is the promo code. You get an annual membership for $75. That's a 25% discount, nearly. And you also get a $75 e-card to Nike.com, I guess. Or it's an e-card, so you can use it for Nike apparel. So, again, Nike75, annual membership for $75, and then a $75 e-card for Nike. Noon, we'll get Mike Norvell, and then we'll get Kenny Dillingham and Adam Fuller, maybe even John Papuchis. Corey will do the live transcription practically of what's happening, and probably some basketball content coming up as well. So stay connected.
I wanted to give a quick shout-out to the soccer team. Yeah. They won the ACC championship. They beat previously undefeated North Carolina, who had trailed for, I think they said 22 seconds all season.
Yeah.
Florida State got up on them 3-0 and won that game 3-0. And for my money, Florida
3-2.
Yeah, they beat them 3-2, but they got up 3-0 on them.
Yeah.
Which is, when was the last time North Carolina was down 3-0 to anyone?
Yeah.
But for my money, and I'm serious, go ahead and claim the 2020 national championship, because there's not going to be one otherwise. Because the rest of the teams, the Pac-12 babies that wouldn't play in the fall when the season's supposed to be played, they're going to play in the spring. And I don't even know if Florida State's playing in the spring because they just played their season. So does Florida State not get to play for a national championship? Because I don't know how they're going to do it. But either way, there's not going to be a 2020 national championship crowned because there wasn't an NCAA tournament in 2020. But Florida State went undefeated, untied, and led and did not trail for a single second for the entire season. They've already won 2 national championships, and this might be Krikorian's best ever team. So I'm telling you, buddy, just get a banner.
Yeah,
you're the 2020 national champions. You already won the ACC. That's great. But you're the 2020 national champions, and nobody can prove it wrong. So go ahead and hang that thing.
Clara Robbins had 2 goals. Leilani Nesbitt, the third. Well, not the third, but, she had one of the 3 goals. She's not like a junior or the third, with all these players these days.
Yeah.
Just all the lineage, the patriarchy. But yeah, that's a wrap on the show. Again, promo code Nike75. Head to warchant.com. Plenty of updates. Basketball season ramping up too. And again, as Corey said, shout out to the soccer team. We'll catch up with you all tomorrow. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good.